Well, hello, and welcome to my makeup session here for Unit 2, chapters 4 through 6. And I'm hoping that my quick rush through each of these chapters is going to be helpful to you, especially as you need to do the quiz for Unit 2. Now, I realize that I'm not going to be able to answer questions, but if you would rewind the video and also look at your textbook, which I'll be making reference to. I think some of it will be self-explanatory. Now, the first chapter is introducing the time value of money. Time value of money is a concept which, for all businesses and for financial planning, means that money received in the future is worth less than money received today. And so the question is, how much less? And as you see when we go through the exercises, it will be important to consider what your rate of return is and what your time frame is, because usually in business you have expenses this year or at this period, and then it generates eventually cash flow in the future. Since the cash in the future is worth less than the cash you're receiving now or you're investing now, it's important to know are we going to break even when we do this project? And as you can see in my little timeline, the main idea being two things: present value and future value. Present value is today, future value is in the future. And as we'll note going forward, that is not only is it just one lump sum that we spend today and one lump sum we receive in the future, but that often we have a major expense at the beginning, and then there is some series of cash flows each year until a final lump sum in the future. And we're going to pretend, remember when I explained about the accrual method, an artificial means of bringing together expenses and revenue as though they're occurring simultaneously, when in reality they are not. And now we're going to be doing it for, what about if it takes 10 years for expenses and income to be totally put into our system? Well, then how do we make them all appear theoretically as though they're happening simultaneously, so that we know, did we get a reasonable return on our investment? Now, this very crude drawing of your calculator, I want you to have your calculator out, the financial calculator you got. You can also see some descriptions in the textbook, some exercises, as well as in the owner's manual for the calculator. There's a lot of keys on here, but don't get all nervous about it, because I have only a small part of the capability of this great tool that we're going to be using for these chapters. We just don't have enough time. Just to make it clear that in my my descriptions for the calculator, that there's only a few rows that we're going to use, and I want you to get really good at those. Now, you'll notice when you look at this calculator that it has numbers or symbols on the keys, and it has numbers or symbols, mostly symbols, on the case, on the plastic case, usually just above the key. So this is really important, because that means each button has often a double function. And if you look on the third row from the top, there are 5 buttons across. I've got them kind of blue here because that's what they've got me in the dry erase marker, but it's a gray row to make it stand out. And those 5 buttons are the time value of money. Those are what we're going to use for Unit 2 to consider. And the way to go for any instructions we will use that are on the case above the button, you use the yellow button that's on the left side, the second row, and it has the number 2ND. That means the second row above, or the the instructions which are on the case. So when I refer to that, I'm saying that we're telling the computer that the next button I push is not what's on the key, but on the formula or the code which is above the key on there. And you'll see also that we clear it all out here down here, and we have plus or minus, which we'll be using in a minute. So let's go to page 99 and chapter 4, and just some explanation here on a first attempt to go through here. Okay, so here on page 99, you can stop until you get here and get your calculator out. But it says, if we have a financial calculator set up right, which you probably do, then calculating a future value is very simple. Take a look at our question involving the future value of $100 at 10% for 5 years. We've seen that the answer is $161.05. The exact keystrokes will differ depending on what type of calculator you use, but here's basically what you do. Notice I've got written here N, which is the first one, I over Y, or interest rate per year, which is the second one, PV, which is present value, that's the third one, payment, PMT, that's the fourth one, and future value is the last one on the right, on the third row. So, in every word problem you've got, and I mean all of them, you are looking at the data that's being given to you by the textbook writers. And you are going to want to know, usually you're going to be given 3 variables, and you're going to solve for the fourth one. So the first thing to do is to figure out which 3 variables am I being given, and how am I going to calculate them. N is the number of periods. It could be annual, it could be semi-annual. We'll talk more about that later. I/Y, or interest rate per year, is also going to be the rate of return. That's another way of looking at the same thing. PV is going to be present value, what's it worth today. PMT is the payments that I might be getting, like my slash marks here, once a year, once a year for 3 years, once a year for 4 years until the project is completed. And then the last one, FV, is future value, and what is the value going to be in the future. So you see here on page 99 that we're being given this data, and you see here at the bottom that it says you have 5 years, so that's N equals 5. And the way you calculate that is, first of all, you have to clear out any numbers that are in here which shouldn't be in here. And so you're going to go to right above the third row, the last one on the right. It says clear TVM, clear time value of money. So to get that instruction to execute, you press second, the yellow button, then you press FV, which is, in this case, you're telling it to clear the time value of money. Then anything that's in there, any numbers from previous calculations, is wiped out. Everything's reset to 0. Now, after you've done that, we're set to 0. Then you want to put number 5 here in the middle, and then N. Whatever number you hit, and then the next key, that's where it gets loaded. 5 years is 5 the number of periods, 5N. Interest rate in this calculation is 10%. So 10, then the second button, I/Y. And then the present value is $100. So we're going to put 100 and then make it a negative number. Here's the negative, is right here in the bottom bottom row towards the right side. Money that goes in to an investment is a money spent or invested. Money received as profits in the future is positive. So money spent is negative because it's outflow. Money received in the future is positive, it's inflow. So we want to take and make just like it shows in the textbook, the present value is 100 negative, and then you press present value. Now here's the key. We're solving for future value, and that's what it says to us. We're being given 3 variables. We're solving for the 4th one. Now the 4th one, although there's 5 keys, ignore the payment on this one. The 4th one, the future value, is out here. So up in the upper left corner, is a button which says CPT on it. So to solve, to make the computer do the calculation, because right now we've just done data entry, just push numbers in there. So we could press compute, then future value, and then it will say FV equals, in this case, 161.05. $100 invested today, compounding at 10% a year for 5 years, will be worth $161.05 in the future. So that's how we're going to be doing that one, doing these numbers.